we go.
Hello, and welcome to Tabletop Terrain Talks, where we talk about tabletop gaming, terrain, and other nerdy things. I am Hayley Bell.
And I am Weston Bell.
And we are your resident nerdy couple on Twitch.
Welcome to Tabletop Terrain Talks.
I feel like that was like a baseball announcer.
Was
it
that?
Might just be because I'm wearing my Barry Allen baseball tee.
Central City. Even though you're not really a DC fan.
No, I'm
Although
not.
we did go see the new Batman.
You
guys. It was good.
The new Batman is so
We are fans.
amazing.
Throw it in the chat if you've seen the Batman.
Yes.
Tell us your thoughts. Throw it in the chat. We
Yes.
really enjoyed it.
We loved this movie. It was it is the best Batman movie, in my opinion. I loved the Christian Bale one, but I felt like it was more superhero-y, feats of strength and crazy whatever.
You loved the noir aspect.
I loved the whole movie is so film noir that I like halfway through I'm like giggling, like reaching over and taking Weston's hand because it was like, oh my gosh, that was so cute.
So we will not spoil it because we do know some people haven't seen it. No spoilers, but we will say it was very enjoyable.
It's an incredible movie.
It was, I thought, worth the 3 hours.
It didn't
runtime.
feel like it was 3 hours.
I know.
It really did not feel like it was 3 hours.
There's a lot of people who say like, like, oh, it ran a little long. I didn't think so. I enjoyed it. I thought each of the characters was their own, including characters that generally have been nothing but a joke.
Yeah, like Catwoman.
Or Penguin.
Oh, I know. Penguin was like, Weston leans over to me halfway through the movie and he's like, everyone is so grounded. Like, there's realism in this movie that is totally beyond what was created with the Dark Knight series. Anyway, so go see it. It's worth the money, even if you live in a place where they upped the tickets for the movie.
It might have been
$1.50.
that might just been for like opening weekend though. At this point, it might not be the case anymore.
That's true, but it's really, really good. So go see it. Okay. As for announcements.
So we will not be having our usual game this Friday. I will be in California for a quarterly work thingy, training, seminar, blah, blah, blah.
Which means that I will be alone.
Yes, you will be all alone.
I will be all alone for a week. But I haven't decided whether or not, because this week is like an interesting place for me because I'm going to be deep cleaning the house and I'm also going to be writing. I'm working on a novel, so it's like I'm going to have a chance to write for the first time in a couple of weeks. And since I'm DMing
Are you
at the
saying
same
I
time,
distract you from writing?
No, but when the little boys go to bed at 8 and then I have nothing but time on my hands, and because I don't sleep until like midnight anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, but I might be streaming on Friday. I might not. I don't know yet. And if I do, I might just be doing my makeup and talking about makeup on streaming.
Which I think all of our male viewers will love, the makeup tutorials.
Oh, that reminds me. Hold on.
Oh, I just reminded her of something. Always a scary thing. Oh.
I'm turning the light down.
Okay. Was it too bright?
Because you can't see my beautiful face.
I think they can see your beautiful face.
Well, it's still hot. The light is still hot. Maybe I should turn it off all the way.
I don't know. We won't mess with our lighting anymore for you.
Anyway,
So yeah, we're off on Friday. We'll be back on next week.
Ben, is that you? Ben, I feel like that's you. I'm tired of Batman. It's oversaturated at this point. Explore the characters. I do agree with that in general.
I was not interested at all in seeing this movie.
I wasn't either.
In any way, shape, or form.
Until the reviewers came out.
Yeah. If you're a fan of...
Oh my gosh, Papa, thank you so much for the subscription.
Thank you, Papa.
Oh, and I found the picture. Of sorry, continue talking.
But if you are a fan of more like mystery, like slasher, like Seven, and stuff like that, like all those movies, you will enjoy this.
This is way more like a psychological
It feels more
thriller.
like that than it does a normal Batman movie.
Yeah, it's like a film noir psychological thriller, and the guy who played the Riddler is so good
Yeah.
that it's so creepy. So creepy.
Yeah, this is more Zodiac Killer than your Jim Carrey. But
yeah,
I agree. We do need other characters and other good characters.
And that's
a little bit harder than it seems to be.
There it is.
So you have a picture.
I have a picture. Oh, should I send it to you so you can?
Yeah, it'd probably be the best.
I'm
way
gonna
to
send it. So the reason, Papa, you subscribing, the reason this made me think of this, is that I am creating.
Gotham by Gaslight's cool, dude.
Yep. I'm creating special emotes. I don't know what that is for our stream, and I wanted to do like a preview of what they look like. But I'm trying to. Should I put it in Drive?
Sure.
Shut up and drive. That one.
Go ahead and throw it in the Drive.
Okay, I'm throwing it in the Drive. Anyway, so we are not going to have a stream on Friday, but I might do something. Other announcements. We just started season 4 of our actual play, which is me in the driver's seat. I am the GM. The all-powerful GM. It's very exciting. We are going to have some really cool guests on next week. It's Abby and Dave from Tomes of the Chaos Bard, which is a family-friendly D&D campaign that they run with family members of theirs, and it's really good. They handle some really cool things, and just because it's family-friendly doesn't mean that it's not kind of seeped in drama and fun crazy situations and stuff. So check them out if you are looking for a new D&D actual play. And here is that's the ranger.
That's the
ranger. That's the little ranger. So if you subscribe to the channel, you will get access to all of the little emotes, and that is what they are going to look like. So I'm excited. They're really cute. They make me very happy. I'm doing a ranger, a monk, a wizard, barbarian, and a rogue, I think.
Okay.
I think those are the 5.
I think it's really cute. I look forward to having those.
Anyway, I'm really excited about them. So, yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think that's all of our announcements for the moment.
Wait, what is Gotham by Gaslight?
Gotham by Gaslight is a steampunk, Victorian era Batman.
What?
Yeah. It's a little steampunk, mainly Victorian. There's
a graphic novel?
I think there's a graphic novel. I do know, and then there's an animated movie. So it's kind of bad guys, kind of Jack the Ripper.
Oh, that would be really cool. Okay, I like these. I like these ideas. I have a new thing to watch now. Okay, cool. So
he said, yeah, get her a trade paperback of Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah, apparently I'm gonna need to go do that. If we have nothing else for announcements, let's move on to TTRPG news. This week for TTRPG news, we had a ridiculously slow news week.
Yeah, it was.
There was like nothing happening in the TTRPG space. I Weston scoured, and we found a couple of things to talk about, but they pretty much all center around Critical Role.
They don't all.
Not all. Oh, that's true. I blame the fact that Elden Ring came out this last week. And so most of the nerdy people are like doing Elden Ring right now.
Most of the nerdy people pretty much lost the last week of time
to that game
while they were playing. So we lost them all. So this week, the announcements. First off, we do have with some Critical Role news. This upcoming on the 17th of this month will be the 7-year anniversary of Critical Role.
That's crazy.
And for their 7-year anniversary, they're going back to the theaters. So if you missed the opportunity to go see the first episode of campaign 3, which was in theaters, and you want another chance to go see in theaters Critical Role, you can go on the 17th. It is in 55 different theaters throughout the United States. You can check your local theaters to see if they have it as a listing, and then you can go watch that next episode, that 7th anniversary, on the big screen at a theater near you.
Yeah, and it is really fun to go see this show in theaters because you get all of the critters that are the kind of the crazy critters because they're willing to spend $25 for a ticket to go watch Critical Role. But it is a little expensive. You can just watch it normal on Twitch and YouTube if you want, but it is a fun experience. We went to the opening of Campaign 3 and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're generally sold. They're generally sold as a Fathom events, so they are definitely more expensive than your normal ticket.
Yeah, and they will sell out. So
quickly.
If you are interested, make sure that you go get tickets now.
Yeah, I know here in Utah, the launching of that Campaign 3 for Critical Role was a bigger sellout at theaters than Dune.
Yeah, and it started with 2 theaters and then they expanded it to 5, or not theaters, but screens. Mm-hmm. So 2 screens and then they expanded it to 5 screens. And I think, I'll have to double check this, but I think that they have pretty much taken the entire theater, all of the screens in the theater for that. Critical Role is really, really, really popular here in Utah.
Jeez.
Anyway, in other Critical Role news, the Call of the Netherdeep, which is the first AP that has been created for the world of Exandria, comes out next Tuesday. So,
which indeed determines as a module.
Oh, sorry, as a module. Sorry. But it comes out next Tuesday. It has been highly anticipated. You can get pre-sales, like you can purchase it whatever. And it will be available in stores, but be aware that it is kind of shipping kind of sucks. So if you have ordered it and it hasn't come after the release date, that is just SOL and you're going to have to wait, which kind of sucks.
It does.
But yeah, so that's a really exciting. I've seen some of the imagery from the book online, and it is so beautiful. They have this like hammerhead shark that has like flames coming out of its chest and off of its tail, and like huge teeth. Like it was, I was, nope. I was noping all over that thing.
Nope. You don't want that to be an encounter in our upcoming, in next season of our
because I am so fascinated and yet terrified by the ocean. So no.
So in our end of our campaign, we're gonna have a Sharknado.
Oh my god.
Shark tornado. What? Throw it in the chat. What CR do you think a Sharknado would be in D&D or Pathfinder?
But it's not its own thing, though.
You could do
it's not its own creature.
It's not, but you could almost see it as a hazard or as something like that. Like
hazard makes sense because then it would like drop every round. It would drop some sharks.
Yes, every round it drops a couple sharks. Every round it drops 1d4 sharks.
Oh my gosh.
And then those are each, a certain CR and stuff like that. There you go. There's a new hazard for your tables. Oh, he says 8.
CR8?
It's going to be a CR8.
Okay, we'll go with that. But we have one last story to cover, which is more Twitch than it is TTRPG. But because of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, Twitch is withholding all payouts to any streams that originate in Russia until the conflict is ended. I don't know if that means that they're not going to get their payouts ever for this period of time, so the money is like gone.
They've given indications that it's just being held because of the measures that have been put on by the United States and by NATO and stuff like that. So at the moment, it's that they will get paid eventually.
Hi, Skagwater.
Hello.
Hi. How are you? Yeah.
So they will get their payouts eventually is the idea. But I might say in the moment, if you know a Russian streamer or are enjoy and subscribe to a Russian streamer, I might say maybe if they have a Ko-fi or some other means,
other way to help support them,
because it might be a while before they get their any bits or anything that would go through Twitch.
Payout.
They might not get that for a while.
Yeah, and like a lot of conflicts. The people in Russia who, like, there are some people that Weston works with, they are not wanting this. There have been tons of protests. A lot of people have been arrested because the people are protesting this war. So if there is a way that you can support them, do so.
Yep.
Yeah. But that is it for TTRPG news. If you are catching this on the VOD, remember that you can join live and interact with us and have fun every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time on twitch.tv/Party of 2 RPG.
And that brings us to the end of TTRPG news. All right, so before we jump into the main topic of the night, we must, of course, give a shout out to the sponsor of this show, which is, of course, Terraino. The Terraino modular system. I'm
We're
working
cutting
on
stuff out
We're
today.
cutting out our stuff today. These are for the modular floor tiles that came out a little while back.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and roll that ad.
Have you ever wanted terrain at your table or for your online games but found it either too expensive to buy or too intimidating or time-consuming to make? Well, you're not alone. This is why thousands of gamers in over 30 countries have embraced the Terraino modular terrain system. All you'll need is a handful of techniques and tools to make Terraino pieces. And most of those terrain pieces are less than 10 cents a piece. What makes this all possible? The Terraino construction manuals at GameGearMaster.com. They're included tools and templates printable on any home, office, or retail store printer. Their clear, concise written instructions and the accompanying tutorial videos take out the guesswork and make building pieces as fast and easy as tracing, cutting, and gluing. Get started in seconds by downloading the Terraino construction manuals at GameGearMaster.com. Happy crafting!
All right, so yeah, definitely check that out. If you use the code Party of 2 RPG at checkout for their manuals, you will actually get 10% off. So definitely go check that out.
It's very exciting. It's what we use on all of our terrain.
It is. So I think with that, we can head into the main event of the night.
The main event! My game store uses all this. Oh, really? They do Terraino? That's really cool.
That is awesome.
That is awesome. We love Terraino. It is so easy. And it is like super simple to use. And it's time intensive to build all the pieces, but once you've built all the pieces, then it's like 5 seconds to put stuff together and
we should do a one shot of get Jake on here, do a one shot of one of his small one shots.
Oh, that would
they
be fun.
do. Build the terrain for it, because now actually if you join their Patreon, they are releasing one shots with the terrain blueprints and everything in the manual.
Yeah.
So you can build the terrain, play out the one shot all in one book.
Yep, it's really, really cool. But yes, so our main discussion topic for the evening, if you do not follow me or us on Twitter, you have a sneak peek if you do. But if you don't, we are talking about metagaming. What is metagaming? What is not metagaming? And should you as a GM allow it at your table?
Now, one thing we do need to clarify, metagaming, what is it, what is not? It is not a type of bird. Contrary to what Critical Role says, it is not a type of bird.
You guys, I can make a really good pigeon noise. Hold on, I'm going to do it.
That is a surprisingly good pigeon.
I know, I can do it. I did it once in a class, and like the teacher was freaked out because we were talking about pigeon toes. Boo, cool. Thank you. I can do really random animal noises. I can do sheep too. Really, really good.
We've discovered that I do monster voices well.
And
you do accents.
Accents and animal noises. Wait, here's my sheep. Hold on. I can't do it with a smile.
This is what you came here to hear. You're like, I want to jump on this stream because I want to hear Hayley make animal noises. Go. Vote in the comment section.
That was a good sheep?
Is that a good sheep or is that bad?
You were awful.
Yeah, I know.
I did all of the animal noises for a book once while my sister was reading it to her kids, and she looked at me and she was like, you should do the animal noises for audiobooks.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, oh my gosh.
What's your job? What's your profession?
I'm a professional animal noisemaker. It's very exciting. Oh, we came for y'all. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so metagaming. So I've been in a couple of different games now where metagaming was specifically said by the GM. It's perfect. Oh my gosh. Okay. I friggin' love these. Keep going with the puns. But I've been in a couple of different games where the GM specifically called out metagaming and said, like, I don't allow metagaming at my table. What I had been doing at the time that I was called out on it was I was kind of asking, like, who's hurt worse? And, like, what's it at? Like, trying to figure out, like, who could I help because I was playing a support position. And he called me out and he said, don't do that. I don't allow metagaming at my table. And I was like, oh, I am so sorry. Like, really, I am so sorry.
You're so used to our table where there's only one player and one GM, so you can't really
we can kind of sort of metagame.
Well, we can metagame really in other areas.
Yeah.
Especially in our game, we can metagame more. Because we both GM, we both know things about the world that our characters don't.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
In a normal game, the GM might know a lot of stuff, but they're not generally playing a GM PC like we are.
Yeah.
And there's also the aspect of you're playing, then you're switching off and you know details about the world that maybe haven't been revealed because you GM'd for, one of the seasons.
Yeah.
And so we actually have a higher probability of
accidentally
metagaming than most tables.
That is true. I hadn't thought about that. I have a hard time with the NPCs remembering which NPC knows what.
So, actually, you deciding who'd help was Megan. So,
well, it was because I was specifically asking about HP that they were a little unhappy about it.
So in the game, I actually remember it was that we were going to heal.
On a scale from 0 to 36. How are you feeling? I like that.
Yes, it's like I heard it one time. It's like, on a scale of 0 to 86, I'm at about a 34.
That would be awesome.
But in this case, like the GM really did want it to be like, oh, I'm looking pretty rough, or you had to use some other descriptor. You weren't supposed to say your HP.
Yeah, you're supposed to say like out of these two people, which one looks rougher or which one looks to be hurt more or whatever, so that you weren't giving specific numbers out. How inside of you is your blood right now?
only about 30% of my blood is in me right now.
I've lost like 2 pints, so I'm not doing great.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, okay, does that really destroy the game? What does that do? What does it like?
What I think it does is that if you are in a fully immersive game, if you're gaming like that where you're asking for specific numbers, it's creating a draw out of the game. So if you're wanting to find, if your GM is wanting it to be like you are in the heat of the moment, you wouldn't be able to tell blah, 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 blah.
Well,
or you wouldn't be able to strategize with the person across like 2 turns away from you, because it's all happening in 6 seconds. So like there are some GMs that will not allow strategizing in combat with the players because they feel like that's cheating in the fact that every round is supposed to be 6 seconds.
There'd be no time to talk. There'd be no time to strategize.
No.
One of the methods of combat that we talked about in a previous episode was that you went around the table and each person had to say what they were going to do. Like it's like, okay, you have 1 minute. You think about what you're going to do. Okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And you went down the table and then you started it and they had to complete that action even if it didn't work with what someone else said or didn't work at all with what the monsters did. And the idea was, well, in 6 seconds, you wouldn't be able to read that fast, and so you would, it's like, if you're boxing, you all of a sudden are going to go in, you want to throw a hook. If all of a sudden the guy happens to throw a low blow right at the same moment you're throwing the hook, you can't suddenly stop the hook.
Doesn't that create a situation, though, as a GM that the GM could metagame? Because it's like, well, I know what you're doing.
Yes, they
could.
And
so I'm just going to say the monster does this.
Yes, you could.
And I think that's not fair either.
Because then there's also that question of the GM allowing the NPCs and monsters to metagame.
Yeah.
As opposed to the players. And that's another aspect of metagaming that I think is often used, especially if you're in like a meat grinder.
Oh, for sure.
Think about the meat grinder scenarios. It's like, oh, okay, I now know what all my players are. I know what their abilities are. I know what we're limited on. I'm now going to build an encounter that specifically will kill this group. And some people like that.
Yeah, some people do enjoy
that. But that would also be considered metagaming. But if your table wants a meat grinder, then
that's what you do. Our exit saying it's when you're pulling information out of thin air that you, the character, wouldn't know. So I'm assuming I finished that sentence for you. I don't know if that's how you were going to finish it, but I finished it. I do agree with that, but I do think it's unfair if you have somebody who's like a ranger or a barbarian. The idea that like they wouldn't know monsters.
Yeah,
or they have experience with other creatures and stuff like that. In Pathfinder they have roll a knowledge or a recall knowledge, and we have a child who just.
You have a child who got up.
Hey, what are you doing?
Hey, buddy. We have a little child that's.
What's going on? Do you want to say hi to all of our viewers? Can you say hi?
Oh, tired little
Gabriel.
one. It says, swag water. It says, I think my problem is where players know the stats of the monster from the book, like HP resistance or even legendary actions. Yeah, and
I will
that's
be right back,
supposed to be a
guys.
check.
I've got to go be a parent for a
You gotta
second.
be a parent.
I'll be right back.
But that's where there's supposed to be that check. It's like, okay, I'm going to use, but that's the other thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to use flaming hands on this troll. Okay, you haven't used flaming hands as an attack the whole game. It's been like your least used attack, but suddenly you got here and it's like, oh, I'm going to use flaming hands. I'm a sorcerer. I can use it again and again and again. I'm just going to use flaming hands all over the place. See, Papa says that's what means metagaming to me more than HP or others. Yeah. It's like, I'm just going to keep using that. Okay. Like, you as a GM can't necessarily tell him, no, you can't use that spell. You can't be like, oh, you have to do a recall knowledge to know that you should do that. But the player's like, yeah, I know, so I'm just going to blast him with this spell. And some GMs and players just kind of are like, well, I expect that you come to the game with knowledge. And they view it, there was one podcast I was listening to, Knights of Last Call. They are a Pathfinder 2nd edition actual play, and they do a podcast as well about game mechanics. And for them, they're like, well, that just comes with being a better player. And I'm like, no, that comes from reading more books. Carney! You got Carney Sideshow here. Welcome to the stream. You now have a little avatar down there at the bottom, a little dragon or a dinosaur. You can actually switch up which one it is. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Whoa. Yeah, the inconsistent nature of it shows bad faith. Use it. Yeah, exactly. But, then that's a situation where you almost have to pull the player aside afterward and be like, dude, that was metagaming. What are you talking about? I just like that spell. Really, you haven't liked that spell for the last 3 sessions. We finally got to the troll, and now all of a sudden you love to throw fire spells? No. And that's where things get to where you really need to define it with your players. So we're kind of talking about, the idea you say you have a sorcerer, and they haven't really used burning hands.
Did you say hello to everyone?
I did say hi to
raided?
Carney.
Hello, raided people. You are raiding. Hello. Stop it at you're just cheesing. Oh, thank you for the follow, Citada. Citada?
Oh, you saw it. I didn't see that. Jeez.
Citada. I don't know how to say your name. I'm gonna go with Citada, even though we like interact all the time on streams.
But we're just talking about like when the players start suddenly using spells that they don't generally use because they happened to be like, oh, we're fighting a troll. Suddenly I have all fire spells, as my wizard. And I have no reason of knowing that trolls are weak to fire, that you have to use fire. But I suddenly happen to prepare all fire spells when I haven't used fire spells really the rest of the campaign. Like, when that happens, that's kind of difficult because you can't necessarily tell them you can't use fire spells.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's not in good faith. That would be metagaming.
No, that would 100% be metagaming. And I think that comes at a place where you as the GM and the players have to come to a place of understanding of like, this is what we will allow. This is what we will not allow as a collective group. And you see that on some of the bigger streams. Like I've seen players say like, I know what this is, but my character doesn't know what this is, or the PC doesn't know what this is. So they're just going to do what they're going to do. And I love hearing that in live streams because it's showing you how to not metagame when you're in a position where it's like, oh my gosh, I know what this is.
Yeah.
And I do have a hard time with that. When Weston's GMing, I have a tendency to want to try and figure out what it is. And I'm not trying to spoil the combat or whatever, but I'm just I don't like not knowing what I'm fighting. Essentially.
I love what RX said here. It says that's when you switch the damage.
And I know people that do that.
I like that. I
They
like
will,
that.
They will change the damage points. They'll change even actions that the monsters will take, especially with games that have veteran players. So that the players don't totally know exactly what it is that they're fighting.
Well, and that's where I also think it does come into knowing your players. Like if you've got a person who is a major veteran, like if you've got a table of, we've all played for 15 years. We played, or at this point, let's say 20 years. I've played 3.0, 3.5, 4, well, maybe played 4. Pathfinder first edition and 5th
5e.
edition and 5e. And I know all these creatures. I GM'd before. Making little tweaks to your monsters or little tweaks or maybe making some changes to that AP or module that you're running to make it so even for this veteran player, it's different.
Still interesting.
However, here's one instance of metagaming that I saw was brilliant.
Yes, play 4th edition. I don't know very many people that would agree with you on that one. Skag. There's a lot of people that don't. I did want to say, I agree with you. Hold on, I've got to figure out your name. R.H. Lurson. Hillerson. But I definitely agree with what you say. They're only hurting their own experience. When I GM, I let it slide. And I do agree with you that it does hurt if you're wanting a role play experience. It does hurt the game. However, Weston and I know a show, Knights of Last Call. They play Pathfinder. They metagame all the freaking time.
Yeah, I mentioned them just while you were upstairs, just a little bit. Just a little bit. And that, for them, they're like, sure, why not? We don't, you're an adventurer. Maybe you know this, so you just pull it out.
Sure.
There was one game, though.
They're also min-maxers, though, and they're really heavy about the combat.
They are, which comes back to kind of knowing what type of game you're playing.
Yeah.
Like, are you playing just a real combat heavy where it's like, we're going to see if we can, beat this as fast as possible with the most amount of damage possible. And that's what you care about. You don't really care about the role play that much.
Yeah.
Then that's a different game.
Yeah, it's a very different game. It's not one that I would want to play personally.
No, you wouldn't.
But sometimes it's fun. Well, it's like I did a meat grinder. My very first meat grinder was a charity stream, and it was super fun. Super fun. And like we all got killed, and it was like we started over again because our allotted amount of time wasn't done yet. So it was like, let's start it over and do it again. And that was actually a lot of fun, but it was because I went into the mentality knowing it was a meat grinder and knowing that we were all gonna die. And my character died by falling through a hole, and all of the people failed their reflex checks to grab me. So I fell in like a 20-minute fall into nothing.
The bottomless of nothing.
I know, it was kind of funny.
Well, but there's one show that I listened to where they actually used metagaming to their advantage. They had yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first level. I've never left the city, but I know the combat mechanics of all these monsters.
That's like the back stories that are like ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, they're ridiculous.
I am the Dragon Slayer of Antioch or whatever, and you're like, dude, you're a level 1. No, you're not. I do love the idea though of playing a queen or a nobility that does have a really intense backstory, but they are brand new adventurers for whatever reason. And
the other backstory, the other one we thought of that we thought was a great one is if you wanted to play a character with an insane backstory, but you're starting at low level, you do it to where you got injured and now you have been out of combat, out of the game for quite a long time. You were a right-hander and your hand got hurt and you've been through some rehab, but it's never quite the same. So now you have to relearn the sword using your left hand.
I am not left-handed.
Exactly. Or I love the one we had where it was the support group, the campaign where it's a support group for failed adventurers.
Oh, yes. We thought of that. That would be really, really good.
So everyone, if you had to take a
like you all have like some type of disability.
Yeah, well, you all had to take a required negative on something and then have some type of quirk that you had to deal with. And you had tried to be an adventurer, you maybe got a couple levels on you, but then you failed miserably and now you're in a support group. It's been a couple of years since you tried to go out adventuring, and then all the adventurers, the normal ones, die, and all that's left is the support group to defend the town.
Yep. Which is great, you know. You can add that stuff in to where you can have a character who does know a lot, but like you said, it all depends on what the GM and the players decide on. And if at the end of the day, like the GM is like, I really consider this XYZ metagaming, I don't want you to do it, I feel like you as a player need to respect that or go find a different game.
Yeah, you need to go find a different table. It's like Pixie. Oh, that makes sense. Pixie says you should play 3.5, which we come from a little bit of Pathfinder, which, you know, very same groups of people play Pathfinder first edition as 3.5.
Yeah.
Min-maxers and metagamers is not fun, derailed the entire campaign because he wanted to do something that was out of character.
Oh my gosh. That's so frustrating.
Well, and the other side of the metagaming is the complete non-metagamer who does stupid stuff in game because, well, my character doesn't know any better.
Or my character would do it. I hate that excuse for doing stupid things if it's like legit stupid. Like Grog Strongjaw taking a sword that could talk. Okay, stupid, but totally in his character.
Well, and he didn't hurt his party.
No, well,
in the story, it ended up working out that way. But like when you do things, I have heard of games where people specifically do things that hurt and make things difficult for the rest of the players, just because, like, well, my guy's really stupid, so he would do that. I'm like, oh gosh.
And for everybody that joined this stream and haven't seen these avatars before, and maybe if you haven't, I don't know, I'm in love with these avatars. These are like my little boobies on Monday and Friday nights. But you can control your avatar. If you hit ! commands, you can get all the commands on what you can do with your avatar. You can make it dance, you can make it move around. You can make it fart.
What was that, Hayley?
You can make it be flatulent. I
It's
don't like that word. I grew up not saying that word.
We have 3 little boys who just walk around all day long going, ha, fart, butt. There's like an episode of Beavis and Butthead, and Hayley just can't handle it.
I was raised as a lady. But yeah, so play with your little avatars. They're fun.
You can also switch them out.
You can.
If you go to the main page for our stream and go down to the little, info thing boxes they have at the bottom, you can actually select different dragons. You can even purchase some, including characters from Final Fantasy, Zelda, and Dark Souls.
RX, I love what you just said. It's what my character would do. Well, why did you make your character like that then? I like that.
No, I think the best one is, well, that's what my character would do. So your character is that type of person? Yeah, he is. So a meteorite falls out of the sky and kills your character. Go make a new one.
As a GM, you're like, and you're dead. I do like the idea of giving XP to, because so much focus is put on like metagaming when it comes to like combat.
Yes.
But metagaming, like with you and I, our metagaming doesn't happen with the combat. It happens with the world in general that we're playing in, because you and I both have storylines that are being done parallel to each other.
Yeah, if you haven't been on our stream before, Hayley and I run a campaign on Friday nights. It's just the 2 of us, and we switch off who's GMing. So I GM'd the last 13 or so sessions of our last season, where our players went down below the city, where a coven of hags had been going into the dreams of the citizens and stealing their souls. But that ended, and now, as of Friday, Hayley is now GMing. Same world. We just switch which character is a PC and which one's an NPC, and who the story's focused on. But that means that we both have an expansive knowledge of the world, far beyond what our characters have. Yeah. So for us, that metagaming is a danger.
And it is easy to kind of fall into a place where, like, I know the structure of a certain organization,
yes,
but my character shouldn't know what that structure is. Or I know what the inner politics are with the aristocracy, but like my character doesn't know, which means you don't know. So it's like sometimes it's difficult to kind of play that line of remembering who knows what.
Well, and honestly, I might say the best thing you could do in that aspect as a GM to not in that way metagame with your NPCs. Give them knowledge they shouldn't have. Give your monsters knowledge that maybe they shouldn't have. Is hold them to the exact same constraints you hold your players. I will do a recall knowledge check when I'm GMing and I've got an NPC and I'm not sure if that NPC will know that information or not. I'll roll a knowledge check for myself and for that NPC.
I didn't realize that you did that. I just kind of like decide.
Yep. I will roll to figure out, do they know that or not? Because I don't want them to just give you all the information.
Yeah.
That's like the guy who's at the docks has detailed knowledge of arcane mysteries of the area. Yeah, no.
That's not a thing that happens, like, ever. I think the idea of metagaming is something that I feel like it's become more of a topic of discussion than it has been in the past, if that makes sense. With the rise of professional APs and smaller independent streamers like us, like, when we're seeing how everyone plays, we're gaining a lot more knowledge than before. We had to, like, sit down and you have to read the books. But now it's like we can watch like 1,000 hours of Critical Role and suddenly we know the stats of all of these monsters that we didn't know before. You know what I mean? Like, am I off base on that?
No, I mean, I haven't read that as many books as I should. I listen to a lot of actual plays, especially. So we're planning on running a campaign. I'm already working on our next campaign, and we might be running 3.5. And so first thing I wanted to do was find someone who's doing a 3.5 actual play and go listen to what, how the game flowed.
Yeah.
as opposed to just reading the books.
Yeah.
We do have a comment here, a couple. It's about puzzles. So Papa says, metagaming is tricky between character knowledge and PC, but if you throw a puzzle at them, you rely on character knowledge rather than PC. Well, it's like the riddles. You want to tell them about the games you did in our last session?
So in our last session, and I want to acknowledge, Pixie, that freaking sucks. To have a rules lawyer at the table when it's your first time really playing, that sucks. I'm sorry. But so in the first episode or first season session of season 4, we went to a carnival. There was a big holiday and there was a carnival that came into town, and there was a Battle of Wits station that Weston went to, his character Az went to, who is a high intelligence character. And I had created this specifically for him, and it actually did not rely on skill checks at all.
It was actually my ability to solve a puzzle, and there was
a riddle.
That was so hard because I'd look at my dice, and they're there.
You're like, I wanna,
and I can't do that. I can't use my dice to solve this, and that was an interesting way to do that because it in that moment, I think it almost made me Az. It made me the character more and the character sheet less.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting experience there because I looked down at my dice. I'm like, can't I just roll an intelligence check?
No, and I did that specifically because I know that I had total faith that Weston could get the riddles. So that's one thing. Which he did. He got it with a little bit of help from Synth Knight in the comments, in the chat. But I knew that is your character. 100% is an intelligence-based character, and I did have plans in place on if you needed some help getting kind of hints and stuff like that, but it was a fun way to start kind of a carnival experience, because then you use that same intelligence as you went throughout the different games that we played, like using Dimension Door to get from one end of a balance beam to another without getting hit by water balloons.
I thought that was great. You were so
I was so mad.
You were so mad at me.
Freaking cheater.
But one of the best you can at times also use metagaming to your advantage if you're a really good GM. I heard there was one podcast I listened to. It was a Pathfinder first edition one called Rocks and Rune Lords. They were playing Rise of the Rune Lords, which is a classic. It was one of the very first APs for Pathfinder first edition.
Or modules.
Yes. And what they did was one of the players had GM'd the campaign before. And so it's like, okay, what do I do with this guy who's played the campaign before? Well, what he did is he made his PC a member of the town.
Oh, yeah.
So he knew everyone. He still made him do history checks on how much details he'd remember on things. But he would be like, oh, yeah, I know this person. Like, well, who in the town does this? Well, this person does this. They're doing this season in Critical Role because Taliesin Jaffe's character has lived in the city.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And so, what's his name?
Taliesin Jaffe.
Well, no, his character's name. Geodude in his head, and he's a barbarian. Gravity.
I don't remember. Who watches Critical Role that knows the name of this character?
Thank you, Pixie, for subscribing.
Pixie, thank you so much, my dear.
But for some reason, I'm wondering if Taliesin worked with Matt a lot on something.
Oh, he did. They've talked about how Matt built that entire subclass for him.
Well, but I mean the world. I wonder if he consulted a lot on that area of Tal'Dorei, or not Tal'Dorei, of Exandria.
What?
That area of Exandria.
What country is this in?
Marquette.
Marquette, there we go. Thank you.
And so he's like, hey, you want to be the one who knows everything, like you're a local. Because it was really interesting in that campaign because the guy already knew all these characters. Then he had to play like he knows those characters, which he can because he does know them. And it grounded the campaign.
Campaign 3, not Mollymock.
No, not Mollymock.
Or Lucian.
We're talking about campaign 3.
Or Caduceus. All of the characters that he had in campaign 2. No, in campaign 3, he's got the geodes coming out of his head, and
I can't believe I don't remember his name.
Ashton!
Ashton!
I got it.
So Ashton knows local stuff, and Matt uses Ashton's character a lot to give out information and to keep people moving in a direction.
Yeah. It's like Hermione Granger in Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling said specifically that she created Hermione Granger and Dumbledore to be like the
quest givers.
The quest givers and the lore dumpers, which has a specific term in. My ADHD medication is wearing off so bad right now. Like I cannot keep my brain focused. Exposition? Is that the right word?
I doubt that.
Exposition? Yeah. Exposition. It's like the info dumps.
Okay, yes.
Anyway, but it created those characters specifically to do that.
Yeah, the barbarian subclass.
I love that you guys all watch Critical Role too because you knew what we were talking about. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we loud?
I think we're a little live on the mics there.
I'm sorry if we're loud.
But that's the thing. And so using that, like, okay, you are a GM, you already know this campaign. You've GM'd this campaign before. All right. I want you to be a local. You know these people, but you don't know the deep secrets, but you know who they are. You know where all the stuff is. I want you to be the local who can kind of help the party get involved. And here's the part I love. You have personal connections with all these people. So if you get in with the party and the party likes you and you care about this person, then suddenly the party cares about this person. It worked really well. Rise of the Rune Lords has some interesting character stuff, but if you don't do it right, no one cares.
Nobody cares about it. And I actually know somebody who is running a whole pre-campaign just to get people to care about what happens at the beginning.
Yeah, because no one cares.
Rise of the Rune Lords. Yeah.
But that is one way in which you can actually use metagaming to your advantage. If you've got that experienced person, you know, maybe you have them. Maybe you, in order to save yourself, like, okay, I know this guy. He's played a long time. He's read every monster manual. Hey, would you mind playing the Ranger? I'm gonna ask you to play the Ranger, and you're like the monster expert. So that way you have him roll the recall knowledges, and then depending on, you know, what he says, you're like, yeah, you know some of it, and then he can kind of give all the party some information about it. You don't have to reference the monster manual then. You don't have to give out the details. This guy knows them already.
That's true.
So you can, if you give them a role to play and give an outlet for their knowledge base, suddenly it will save you, I think, from some of the metagaming, and instead it becomes a part of the game that can be used to your advantage and the party's advantage.
Are there haters on Rangers? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Are there haters on Rangers?
I didn't know there was haters on Rangers.
Ranger haters?
Ranger haters. I love the Ranger class.
I only like them.
You guys, did you see? Do we need to pull up? We need to pull it up again?
Some people didn't.
My very first little emoji that I am, or emote that I am creating for.
See, I still got it here.
There it is. For this channel is that. It's a Ranger. That was my first one. I like Rangers a lot.
It's the most dumped on class. We play. We generally play Pathfinder, 2nd edition right now, and the Ranger can be straight up OP if you play it right.
Well, yeah, if you min-max it. But like any class in Pathfinder, if you min-max it.
But you don't even need to do that because like at first level, you can take an ability. So in Pathfinder, you get 3 actions. You can do whatever you want with them. And you take a negative on each subsequent attack. So your first time you attack, it's at your full modifier. Second time you attack, it's at a 5, -5. Third time you attack, it's at level 2.
It's a -10.
-10, yeah. First level as a Ranger, you can take an ability, and if you're using a finesse weapon, which are generally -4, -8, halves those to -2, -3, -6.
What?
First level. So if
Are you serious? I didn't know
Yes.
it could do that.
So you're using a finesse weapon, you can do that. And then there's another feat you can take later that drops it even lower to it's a -2, -4. And then there's a skill you can take that negates your first one. So then it's like a 0-0-2. Like you hit everything. You don't do as much.
Why did I not play a ranger? We're dual classed.
Because you want to use a huge sword, and this would be a dex-based character.
I like to smash things with hammers and giant great swords. That's depressing.
See, Mex says, I love the Ranger. They can feel a little underwhelming in 5e compared to the 3rd edition counterpart. At least that's what I've been told.
Do you, Mech, what edition do you play? Do you play 3.5? Or 3? Or whatever? Yeah, that's the question.
We're actually looking at a system called Leveled Up Advanced 5e. Which is a rebuild on 5e. Uses a lot of the same mechanics, but changes a lot.
It sounds like they use a lot of things that are utilized in Pathfinder.
They use a lot of Pathfinder. They use some 5e. They use some 3. And there's a chance in this one for a completely zero magic ranger, which apparently in 5e people have wanted. No, you don't have to. You can do magic, but you can also pick a subclass that's completely non-magic and yet still kicks butt.
But hunters, Mark.
Yeah, there's something equivalent, but not the same.
Okay. I'm a forever DM.
There's a lot of hunters.
Oh, okay.
Well, and Mech, I've got to ask you then, as a forever DM, do you ever jump into the player? And I just jumped back into the player's chair, and I'll tell you, man, I'm
having a hard time.
It's hard to jump from the DM's chair into the player chair. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay.
He was seriously nervous before last Friday because he's like, I'm so used to being in the DM's chair. And I was like, it's mine. You can't have it back.
It's interesting because as a GM, in my opinion, if you're a good GM, you give your players options. Mm-hmm. And so you give you a whole bunch of options, but the players have to choose and then live with the consequences. Mm-hmm. Suddenly now I have to choose and live with the consequences.
Well, and yeah, I mean, and it's not all that, it can be a little frustrating when you're playing a one-on-one game like this and you as the player are making all of the decisions because you never get a break of just being like, I'll just go along with whatever the party's doing.
Yeah, you can't do that. You are the party.
You have to make the decisions for yourself. It kind of sucks. Rangers need to be able to flaunt their versatility. Yeah, I agree with that. They're built around it. Yeah, no, it's true.
It's hard not to rule lawyer for me. It is for me too.
And I kind of wish Weston would do it a little bit more for me because I forget things. Not a ton, a little. Don't get that look on your face.
She just opened
up
the gates of hell.
No, an example was we had a little bit of downtime, and so Az was doing a bunch of crafting, and I didn't even think to have him roll a crafting.
She didn't have me do any craft checks. She says, okay, you make it all.
I was like, okay, cool.
I was like,
well, all right.
Well, all right
and
then.
I forgot that was even a thing. The gasp. I know.
Yeah, you've been able to avoid some of those deeper rules like crafting checks
That's because
and
it's about
recipes.
the story for me. I don't freaking care.
And the fact that I should be having to pay half of the price, and it might actually take me multiple days to craft depending on my rolls. It's actually fairly in depth.
That is just
for
annoying.
Crafting.
That's just annoying. I don't like it.
In Pathfinder, it's
Crafting
straightforward.
Sucks.
It's straightforward, but it can.
If
you
you
take
just
up some
heard
time.
what he just said, this freaking complicated, and I'm sitting over here thinking, let's get to the carnival. The carnival.
She doesn't care about any of that.
No, I'm all about the story. I am, but I'm a writer. I'm specifically a fiction story novelist. Writers for TTRPGs
Let's all rule
are
shame
different.
her in the comments.
You can
rule shaming.
That is totally fine.
So apparently everyone loves the black dragons.
Why?
Looking at the amount of
holy cow, you guys!
Everyone loves the black dragons.
Kev, Kritata, Sylvie, Weston, you are Dooms, you are. Holy cow!
All the same dragons.
Pixie, you guys, there are other dragons. You can get the cute little ones.
You can also get the dinosaurs.
You can also get the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are options too.
Yes.
They're so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, seriously though, I love that.
But that's the thing with metagaming. A lot of it does come back to the table you're running. Mm-hmm. Like I will go back. You can trust me to go back, and I'm gonna look through all the things I wanted, deduct my money off there. Like,
your totes will.
Hayley won't. With
I
Hayley,
forget. I'm like, I get money. I forget to add it. I spend money. I forget to take it off.
I don't even want to know. I need to jump on your character sheet and see how much you're carrying, because my guess is you're like double the carrying capacity for your character.
No, I have a bag of holding though. So money goes in the bag of holding.
Money goes in the bag of holding.
Pointy end goes into the other man.
But not everything goes in the bag of holding. And actually, bags of holding actually do have a limit.
I know, 500 pounds. But like, I have a bag of holding, so it goes in the bag of holding.
But pink is not my brand of goth.
If there were purple, I'd pick that one. Oh, okay, fine.
I've got to remember.
It's mine.
I got to remember what we even have.
I don't remember what we have. It's been a hot minute since we set these up. But I always make Weston change it if it gives us the dinosaurs, because I'm like, no, I want a dragon. Go do the dragon. No, I think one way to really help metagaming not happen is have an understanding of fluidity in the game, of like give and take, like as a GM just being like, hey, like this isn't okay, but like I'm gonna be totally okay with doing it this way or whatever. Like you can't ask somebody what their HP is, but you can say out of these two people, which one's hurt worse. So it creates a situation where you're getting the same information that was being asked for, just in a different way.
And that's one thing is, there is different ways to ask. It's like.
Skag, how did you know I grew up on that song? I love that song so much.
Oh, jeez. And then also, if you stab a bag of holding, all its contents explode out of it.
And apparently, if you turn it upside down, it will also do that.
Yes.
It'll dump all of the contents out of it.
Well, in Pathfinder, though, in Pathfinder, every single object and material has a hardness and an HP. So you can break anything.
Darren.
I wonder if you'd actually have to break it.
Hi, Darren. I don't know. Maybe. I still use the bloodied indicator from 4E. What is the bloodied indicator? I do not know what that is. I let my players ask that if they're proficient in medicine. DC 15. Is it just a flat DC 15 check?
They probably add their medicine.
Oh.
They add their medicine skill to it. Which
Okay,
like for Az is like a 13.
I know.
So
You
like,
have a crap ton.
If I roll anything but a 1, I can know exactly who's more injured. But that's where
half health. Oh.
It's condition.
I get that. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry today has not been kind. Know that we love you. Big hearts. And you have an adorable little dragon that you can take care of and make it do stuff.
Dragons always make people happy.
Mm-hmm. Dragons. That was somehow the dragon sound.
Hayley has exhausted her animal noises for the night. There will be no more. Thank you. Come again next week. Jeez.
No, I did a really good pigeon and a sheep earlier. If the bag is overloaded, pierced, or torn, it ruptures and is destroyed, and its contents are scattered in the astral plane. In the astral plane? They're not scattered in our plane? They don't come out into our plane?
That actually makes sense, because if they explode, if you put a bag of holding into a bag of holding, it creates the explosion and then sucks everything into the astral sea.
And that's how you, as a first or second level character,
kill
can kill
Tarrasque.
a Tarrasque.
Yeah,
I know.
Kind of, supposedly.
Not supposedly.
I don't know.
How do we train our pet dragons? How to train your dragon?
Okay, I'm gonna show real quick. I want to show this. I'm gonna.
Yes, we play with really interesting scenarios. Like like my thought was, if you have a sending stone that you have spelled to activate once it gets somewhere, can you theoretically put a spell into a sending stone, like fireball or something like that, spell it to go off once it is at its destination, so you're essentially sending a bomb via mail.
Yeah. But the one thing is, so few spells have a purely verbal component, though.
I know.
So it's an interesting thought, though.
It is an interesting thought. I think it's fun. Do you know the black hole arrow? What?
I don't. But first, I'm gonna educate our.
It was a plot point in the stream I watched. Oh.
I'm gonna educate some viewers here on how these stream avatars work.
Oh, y'all's is getting some education.
Because I think that there's always some confusion on this. So here, this is just our stream.
Wow.
Right?
This is like, talk about metagaming.
Yes.
This is so
you
meta.
can come here, stream avatars, and then here you can pick the different avatars. You can also pick from the ones that do costs bits or like 100
I think
bits.
they're 100 bits.
But then there's also this, and then you can come down to actions, and you have a little controller.
You guys, you can make your dude flagellate.
I can apparently make them hug.
You can make them hug? Who are you hugging?
I have no idea. I did not ask consent, but apparently.
No, it does. It has to. Because it asks consent on attack. You can also do exclamation jump and get the star.
Oh, I have to put in a target.
Oh,
that's
so
why I have to put in a target. Who wants a hug? I think
Darren. Give Darren a hug.
Darren needs a hug.
You put a small bag of holding on the end of an arto. Do you mean an arto? What's an arto?
I don't know. Okay, so.
Oh, look how cute that is.
I gave you lots of hugs and
your
love.
smiley faces. You guys, I'm so in love with these avatars. Jeremy. Hi, sweetie.
So you can go and you can check these out.
You can also put a portable hole that sits right in the opening of the bag, and at impact, the portable hole is flung into the bag. Oh my gosh, that's a really good idea.
So there's these on your actions, and then we'll throw in again the list for commands.
Yeah. And you can go command it, go commando it. Anyway.
It's commands.
You did it wrong. No, you have to do exclamation point commands. We've only been streaming for almost a year.
Whatever. And funny, it dropped right after I did that anyways.
Well, no, it does that. You do exclamation commands, and then it does it, and then the stream elements did the thing. Anyway, we're getting in the weeds with the avatars.
But it's okay. It's fun.
It's okay.
But
I think a certain level of metagaming is impossible to not have.
It is.
But I do think that if you as the player can avoid it as much as possible, it makes things significantly more interesting than if you are sitting there thinking, oh, well, this monster has this type of HP and I'm keeping track of all of it and whatever. I'm pretty sure this next hit is going to kill it.
However, I can imagine in the Dark Souls 5e that you probably have to do that because that's the entire way that Dark Souls, the video game, works. Is everything's OP, but you have to then go and learn its weaknesses and then you hit it and then if you die, you come back, and then you do it again. I wonder if that's the way the game works.
I know that people die a ton. The few reviews that I have read about the Dark Souls 5e TTRPG, you do die a lot.
Good. If you didn't, then it would not be Dark Souls.
So metagaming is okay if it doesn't ruin the fun. I kind of feel like it. I feel like if you as a table, if your party has decided that hey, we're going to do a certain level of metagaming because we're really into the min-max thing and we really want to make sure that we have like the best possible combat scenarios, then yeah. I mean, you have to metagame at that point if that's the goal. But if your goal is the story and role play, then you've got to shut all that metagaming down.
Yeah, you do. It all comes back to your
a
table.
point.
In a lot of ways, it comes back to your table.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Just our stream elements is going crazy. Want your avatar to do something? Tap ! Commands.
So,
Our stream elements has done that.
Swagwater said we'll be down for a Dark Souls TTRPG one shot. I actually think that Critical Role, when they did their Elder Ring one, I believe they used the Dark Souls. There's some things in there.
Did?
There were some things in there that they did.
You watched it?
I watched some of
haven't
it. That
watched it.
seemed either that or Matt, just homebrewed a whole ton of stuff.
Matt's just really
right off
freaking
the
good
cuff,
at
which he
homebrewing
might have
everything.
done that.
Oh my gosh! But I do want to watch that one because it has Brendan Lee on it, who is the DM for a lot of Dimension 20.
I've always there is a part of me that wants to play. I'm a little intimidated by it because we're still fairly new in this space.
No, we're not.
We've been playing now for what, 1 year?
April was when we first started playing and recording. May was when we started streaming.
But we started playing at home
September of 2020.
in September. So a year and a half almost now is all that we've been playing. But I would be interested in an actual real min-max game. Like
yeah,
for
you're going to
me.
have to play that without me.
I know, I'd have to play with someone else. But like a real min-max game. It's like when we played we played one a short campaign with Playnard Allies in the world of Wheel of Time.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
And I was playing a Warden, which we had done a modified Paladin in order to play the Warden.
I was a modified Sorcerer.
I dipped into Barbarian to get Rage, and I had a D12 on my hit points, and I was just soaking up damage.
You
like
really
nobody.
did.
And it was so funny because the players were all playing, and they're like, Are you almost? I'd be like in the middle of all these Trollocs, and they're just beating me, and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm good," and there's like,
Yeah,
"What?"
Like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, I'm good. It's all good.
And it's like, "What?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. Because
I know you probably would love playing a min-max game.
I probably would because I do
if,
enjoy that.
If anybody is playing a min-max game and would like to invite Weston, he would be very open to it.
Yes, I can find time in the schedule, which is always the hard part.
We will find time. We will make it happen.
All right. But that's, I mean, it does depend on that game because min-maxers, you can, okay, maybe they do bring in a lot of metagaming, and so you just make everything harder.
Yeah.
But then they're up for that challenge. They're expecting characters to die.
Yeah.
There's other ones to where, but if you're doing a high role play, or if you're playing with players you don't often play with,
yeah,
you gotta really be careful there. And that's where those session zeros and those talking among yourselves of, okay, what's the rules here?
I think it was Papa that said earlier that he covers all the metagaming stuff like in session 0. Yeah, it was Papa. I'm glad I remembered that. But yeah, I think that's the best time to do that kind of a discussion is at the very beginning of your game. And if you have anybody joining, you kind of explain, hey, this is the type of game that we play. And if you are not going to follow the rules, we will kick you out.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing we should totally have a night where we talk about this, like dealing with conflict at the table when it's conflict within the players.
We could. I mean, we'd
have a guest on.
Yeah.
We could have a guest on.
Maybe have a guest on who's GM'd larger groups, considering we just deal with each other.
It's true. We do just deal with each other.
But the only real conflict we've had there is when I knocked out your dog.
You tried to kill my dog.
They were saps. It was non-lethal damage. Get over it.
Just trying to kill my dog, you guys.
Cause those are the rules. That's right. You tell them.
There are the rules, but there's kind of like the pirate rules. It's more like guidelines. Get it? It was funny. Jeez. I've had to deal with this so much. Wait. Like rules lawyering people? What do you mean? What have you had to deal with?
Rules
so much?
lawyering, people fighting at the
People
table,
fighting
or
at the table.
metagaming.
Because I feel like what needs to happen more often, and people are very scared to do it, is if there is one player that's causing issues with all of the other players or whatever, of like kind of as the leader of the group saying, hey, you need to leave.
Well, people have a hard time with that anyway.
I mean, conflict is not something people like to do. I don't like it.
Skag is apparently an expert on murdering your character's pets.
I'm known as the familial. That is awful. Oh my gosh. I would so be mad at you. He almost didn't get to sleep in the bed the night that he knocked out my dog.
Oh, yes, I did. If you were mad, you would have slept on the couch and I was
okay, that's very true. I would have slept on the couch because I am like, I don't even want to be near you. And I go sleep on the couch.
All right, bed. Problem players. Yeah. Well, and here, I guess this does bring up to a good last thing is how do you tell a player, how do you handle a player who's metagaming at your table? This is a difficult thing for a lot of people. Here's one what I'll start with. The first thing, assume ignorance. Don't assume maliciousness when ignorance will do. Mm-hmm. Don't assume that they are maliciously metagaming.
Yeah.
When them being unaware of their actions could be just as true. Because generally people aren't aware. Hayley, you asked, you're like, someone asked you, how are you doing? Oh, I'm at 30 HP. What do... Don't do that.
Don't do that. And it's like, oh, sorry. I won't do it again. I promise.
But at our table, because it's just you and me, and I know all your numbers, it's like,
well, okay. And I won't tell you sometimes.
You generally won't.
I normally don't because I'm just like, I'm okay.
But, and I think you started doing that more after that game.
I did, actually. I did. It did affect the way that I play. But with problem players, it's being able to have that collision. And I think that's like just a personality thing anyway. Like there are some people who cannot handle collisions and there are some people that can. Like Weston handles collision really well. And we use the word collision instead of fight because fighting is when there's like a lot of heated and like it ends up you hurt each other. But collisions is just like, hey, we need to have a discussion that might be a little awkward and uncomfortable. But let's talk about it.
So RX says that the old phrase never attribute to maliciousness can be explained by incompetence. I prefer ignorance. Incompetence is a little more insulting.
Oh,
which if you go in,
how nice you are.
Well, no, if you go in with the attitude of them being incompetent, of them being stupid, you're going to come at it from a wrong area. You're going to come out from the wrong angle. It's more so, hey, don't know if you realize this, but you were in from what I view as a GM, you were doing quite a bit of metagaming tonight. Specifically in these things, and identify them. Like that's the big thing. It's like coming out and saying, hey, you're metagaming a lot. If they don't realize they're metagaming, they won't know at what moment you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like my children.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? It's like, stop being mean to your brother. What are you talking about? When you punched him in the head. That was mean. Oh.
Yeah. And do you know what's really sad, you guys? I get more up in arms about my kids hurting and like being mean to my dogs than when they're mean to each other because they don't listen to me when they're mean to each other.
And Mecca's right. Don't do that in front of the other players.
No. However, there was that one time right before Orion left CR at the very beginning of campaign 1 that Matt called him out on it.
Yeah, on stream.
On stream. Which was like, whoa. And I didn't realize how big that was a really big deal at the time because I had only barely stepped my pinky toe into the world of TTRPG gaming. But now knowing what it is, it's like, oh, dude, he full on called him out on stream. Oh, jeez. My 5 brothers and hockey mom would disagree. Wait, disagree with what?
That hitting your brothers is mean.
That hitting your brothers is mean? Well, okay. Every family's a little different. But our babies are 4 and 6, and like those two cannot be walloped on by the 9, almost 10-year-old.
Yeah.
There's kind of a difference, and there's a very big difference physically between all of them too. So we have to keep the little ones alive.
Well, our oldest, he is autistic and doesn't understand limits, and he's a big kid.
He is big. He's tall, and he's physically a big kid.
He's 9 and he wears size 14. So like he's a big kid,
and he's quite tall too,
and doesn't understand his strength at all.
No, he's a really big cutie.
So he'll wallop on his brothers, and I'm like, dude, back it up.
Stop. But the problem, I do freak out way more though when my dogs get hurt.
But identify clearly what are the things that you considered metagaming. Because they may have been like, I wouldn't have considered that metagaming. I understand. This is an instance where I am GM, it is my table, and I'm going to ask you not to do that.
Yeah.
If they do it multiple times,
that's kind of where you need to have a collision of like, hey, you either kind of need to fall in line or you need to leave the table.
Yep.
Like this is causing problems and whatever, especially like if there's drama in between between the players. Because I have a friend who was running a game and there started to become drama between the players themselves, and it was causing a lot of issues. And I know that for him, it was really difficult for him to pull the person aside that was causing the drama and being like, hey, we're kind of kicking you out of the game.
Well, and one other thing on top of that, sorry. One other thing on top of that is you might consider it metagaming. It might not be causing issues for anyone else at the table. Everyone else at the table might not care that much. Yeah. Sometimes you might need to look at the table, be like, okay, I generally wouldn't like this. The rest of the players don't really have an issue with it at all. Maybe I need to let this one go.
Yeah.
Because
you mean check your ego?
Yeah.
What?
Sometimes
you need to check your ego at the table?
Yes. Sometimes.
Okay, but in all seriousness, at the end of the day, if you are having fun with your players and it is still a fun game to explore and be a part of, like, it doesn't freaking matter if people metagame. If you're enjoying it, enjoy it, and don't let anybody else tell you that this is not the right way to do it.
And if everyone's enjoying it, like, because here's the other thing. You as a GM need to enjoy the game. Or you won't want to continue GMing, you'll get burnt out.
Yeah.
So you need to, again, comes back to those session zeros.
Yep.
Be in alignment with your players on the type of game you want. What are the rules that you guys are going to operate within?
However, don't write up a contract.
Why? There's actually a lot of GMs that very much say that you should have a contract that says what topics you're willing to go into, what things you're going to be going over, so everything is understood. It's actually a thing in the space.
Do you make them sign it?
A lot of them do.
Do you guys agree with this? Writing a contract for your players and making them sign it for your game starts?
It's like we all agree that we are good with this, that this is what it is.
I feel like that's too much. I feel like. But seriously, tell us in the chat if you guys think that is like a normal run-of-the-mill, you do that, like, thing. Because I feel like it's weird.
I think, honestly, in this day and age of streams, sometimes you might need to, because we've seen people who have done, things have been on streams, and there's been certain things that have been gone into on a stream that made a player uncomfortable, and then that player goes and blasts that person online,
and that person gets
major flack and major issues for it.
Yeah.
So there can be a certain level of protecting oneself. I could see.
Well, and I don't think about that very much because it's you and me. So, like,
we don't have to worry about it.
We don't have to worry about that stuff because you know what I'm not comfortable going into, and I know what you're not comfortable going into. or whatnot. So no, you're right. It's something that I don't think about.
I think also Mech brings up a very good point. If you're a paid GM,
yeah, that's a totally different thing, because that is a business. A very different, that's a business. And from a business standpoint, you do have to cover your butt with liability with things like contracts, so that there's nobody that can come back and say blah blah blah. I don't say blah blah blah.
Yeah.
No, if you're paid, like, totally different.
Like a home game, generally don't have to worry about it. If you're paid, or even if you're, a stream and you're having a guest on, that's like our new campaign. I will probably want to do something like this for our new campaign for guests.
Yeah.
Our new campaign that we're planning on launching later on this year is called Valley Toss. Valley Toss is Finnish for exposure. It is a game in which we are putting in aspects of what it is like on a daily basis to live with mental health issues and to be family and support for someone with mental health issues.
Yep.
And so we are going to be getting into topics and that are difficult, topics that might be triggering, but the whole idea is that people, if you haven't dealt with mental health issues, or you aren't a family member directly of someone who's dealt with mental health issues, you don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
You have no clue. And I think for a lot of people out there, it could be so helpful.
It's
to expose that.
The way that we're setting up is it's educational almost for people who've never experienced things like depression and anxiety, but it's also very cathartic for people who do experience it. It gives physical form to things that we feel like are insurmountable.
Yep.
Things that are they are in our minds, so they're not real, but they're very real. Like, I don't know, like, it all stemmed from a comment that I made like last year sometime. When I've struggled with depression most of my adult life, and I said to Weston, it's just like the roll of the die. I never know what my day is going to be like, if it's going to be a good day or a really bad day. Thankfully, like, we found a combination of medications that actually work really, really well for me. So over the last 2 months or so, things have gotten way better than they've been in the past. But that's kind of where this idea for this world came from. And it's all about chaos and order. There is no good and evil, because in the struggle with mental health, there's not good and evil.
There's just chaos and order. And honestly, order is generally can be bad too.
It can be
All
just
of them can
as
be bad.
destructive as chaos can be. You have to find that balance in between of just enough chaos and just enough order in your life to be balanced and to have clarity.
So when I invite people on our stream, very much there's going to have to be discussions beforehand of topics, what's safe, what's not safe, because of the nature of the discussion we're going into. I do love something RX said here with no-goes and skip cards. A skip card, from what I've heard, is like a physical thing that you can do to put forth that
say, I don't like this, or I'm uncomfortable.
I'm gonna skip this thing and let's move on with and giving those ways the easy outs. What's your safe word? To
my safe word is oranges.
There you go. To move out of that topic if it's getting that way.
A little too intense.
If you're running an intense game with intense emotions, you need to allow the out. And I think that's going to be very important for our game, for next campaign with guests and even with you at times. There will be times where I'm sure we'll go in stuff and maybe the kids, maybe I have something that involves, children, and we just had a bad day with the kids. And suddenly it's like, Weston,
I can't now.
I can't today.
I just can't.
Move over this storyline point faster than you were planning.
Yeah, well, there was, when we first kind of brought this up, we had somebody say that they felt like it was not a good thing to, quote unquote, gamify mental health issues. But I do want to say the only reason that we can do it to the level that we're planning is because it's us.
Yeah.
Because I have full trust and faith in him, and he has full trust and faith in me. He's my rock. He's my person. And so if you were ever to run a game, and we are planning on eventually creating a setting for this for 5e, but if you were ever to play this setting and whatnot, you would have to have a table that was incredibly trusting with each other. This is not something that you can just go into with a bunch of strangers. This is something that is very deeply personal.
And that's where like that trust with GM is important. 0 sessions become important. Who you're playing with becomes important. And if you're playing with a random group of people and it's like an organized play type situation, then you got to set up your rules early. Make sure everyone knows them up front. Everyone agrees. If someone doesn't, maybe that's not the right table for them. And you got to be willing to say that. You gotta be willing
say
to say
it quick, too. Because I think the longer it goes without saying something to the player, it creates more issues.
Nothing against you, but that's not the type of game that everyone else wants to play. And I want you to be able to play the game you want to play. So I don't think this might be not be the right table for you.
It didn't go well, Mech, as in the children did not survive. Because, like, I definitely have a trigger point there. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Because that would be difficult.
Because that would be really, really hard for me.
As a mother? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and as a not just as a mother, but as a woman who's miscarried.
Yeah.
That's a thing, too.
It is. So that's where, 0 sessions, again, becoming so important on multiple levels. But metagaming is one of those to where you're like, you know what? This is what we consider metagaming. Don't do that.
Yeah. And it can even be okay of like, hey, as a player, I know what this is, but please don't go look it up. Like the specs. Please don't, or the stats. Don't go look it up.
Oh, geez. Let me pull out my monster manual and start looking at the table.
That.
He does.
So when we play with him, we have to make sure we have the bestiary and the core rule
in
book
our hand.
In our hands, or he will look up what monster we're fighting.
And he is so funny because he's like,
it's
had
hilarious.
no understanding at all of why we were
why not? And it's like, you can't. You just can't do that. That's not okay.
But then I can beat it. But he's grown up in this whole era of playthroughs.
Did you strip this other side?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
He's grew up in this whole area of jumping on, I'm playing a video game and it's hard. I'm going to jump on YouTube, watch a playthrough, and know instantly how to beat it. Gone are the days from our childhood where you played Mario for 50 hours to get past, that lava castle.
Oh my gosh.
Because it was so freaking hard.
Yeah, or like you really did stumble upon the secret level. Like stuff like that. Like that doesn't happen anymore. So he wants to go look things up because he wants to know.
And like, no.
It's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do it. Reptile is real? I don't get it. Explain. I don't understand. Okay, you guys, I am like very uneducated when it comes to video games. I have a mother who believes video games are literally from the devil, and a father who plays video games but plays most of them on his phone because then my mom can't take him away. And it's like, yeah.
Ooh, all but 1 out of 8 didn't make it.
Oh my gosh.
Player roles were not kind. It ended up being okay with the players because none of them had the kind of trauma you're talking about.
Yeah. It's difficult. And it's funny being the person that I am because my character that I'm playing right now in our campaign is 19 years old, but she gets really, really triggered by kid stuff too. And I built it into her character that it all has to do with her sister who was taken from her when she was young.
Yep.
And so like it all makes sense, and I built it in because I kind of knew that was.
You were not going to be able to separate that.
No, that I would never be able to separate that. Oh, Reptile is real. It's a Mortal Kombat reference. Nice.
You know who Reptile is.
I do know who Reptile is. The only reason I know that stuff, though, is from the 1990s movie. And then I watched the new remake, which was really quite horrible.
Except for the beginning, 15 minutes.
The beginning 15 minutes were amazing. I would watch an entire movie about that. But the rest of it was horrible. It was horrible.
You unlocked a certain level by performing certain actions during one of the fights. It was denied by the devil to even exist.
The devs.
Oh. Huh.
Oh.
The secret levels. Ooh.
That's exciting. I know. Autocorrect freaking sucks. I hate it. Every time I want to swear, it autocorrects. It doesn't let me swear.
That's funny.
It really doesn't. So when I want to say like words that start with S, it always changes it to shut.
That
Always.
is interesting. Is this on Twitter or on?
No, this is on my phone.
Huh.
It will not let me swear, and certain words that start with F don't come. They come out lots of different versions, but they never come out the word that I want it to come out as. It was whispered among the playground. Oh, the playground games. That's fun.
That's awesome.
No. Okay. I guess apparently I am being told. I'm not told, but I am outvoted in the idea that contracts are not cool.
Are you?
But I guess contracts are cool.
Was there a
I mean,
vote?
there was everybody was saying Duck Hunt. Are you talking about Duck Hunt? Because Duck Hunt was definitely a thing. There were certain levels in Duck Hunt. I did have friends that played Duck Hunt. Ducking autocorrect. Yes. Yes, that's what we're talking about now. I get it. No,
Yeah.
it will. It'll change it to duck. It'll change fart is one too. It'll change it to fart, which I think is super stupid. Oh my gosh, I love you guys. But we've hit our hour and a half mark, and Weston has to finish packing to get ready to go on his trip tomorrow.
California
love.
It's so funny. I'm going to be right by the beach. My work office is literally like
right
a
off
block from a beach.
It is.
And I won't go there
He's
at all.
not going to go to the beach.
I won't have any time. Sad.
The ducking was deliberate. The spelling mistake was not.
All right,
I love that.
y'all.
But you guys, it was so awesome. Tonight was rocking.
Thank you so very
Thank
much for
you.
being here.
And I will let everybody know on my Twitter. If you don't follow me, you can get regular updates on like what's going on with the stream and stuff. My Twitter handle is HayleyM_Bell, or you can follow us on Twitter, like our official page, which is at Party of 2RPG Live. You have to add the live at the end, or it will not come up.
Yes.
But I will let you guys all know whether or not I am going to do a stream on Friday by myself. All alone.
By yourself.
Maybe we'll just do a singing.
Do a sing along.
A sing along. And I'll
Okay.
just find a soundtrack and we're just going to sing through the whole thing. Some Broadway show
Wicked.
that I know. Wicked. Oh, yes.
Oh, jeez.
Yes. No, not really. But yes, follow us there. If you do not follow us here on Twitch already, hit that follow button so that you can stay up on when we go live, and make sure you click the notification bell because otherwise it won't tell you when we go live and you will be sad.
And if you want to support the stream, please subscribe. We do also have a coffee.
I have a coffee.
You have a coffee where you can, we don't drink coffee, but I do drink
We do
Diet
drink
Coke.
Diet Coke.
And there are also, if you want some coasters, I think those are still on there, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. The coasters and the magnets are still on there if you guys want to buy those.
Do you want to buy some coasters? They're available on the coffee.
The Ko-Fi. We called it Ko-Fi for the longest time, and it's because lo-fi, Ko-Fi.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, thank you so much, you guys. We will see you either Friday or Monday for sure. And remember,
It only takes two.
Good night. Mwah.